What's going on, guys? Randy from Modified Motorsports here with another part of my SI build. We're going to be replacing well, we're not replacing necessarily, we're just adding a spacer from Torque Solutions. This one's red, they come in different colors. It comes with 3 bolts extended, so that way it can fit to the new blow-off valve or existing blow-off valve. And all this is going to do is just give it some sound. It doesn't do jack shit else but that. In fact, a lot of people say they discourage it just because it'll actually end up making the car run rich. But I personally don't give a shit. I've done this before on several other cars, and I don't really care. So, to hell with whatever everybody else has to say. Right now we're removing these bolts. I already loosened them with a regular ratchet 8mm. So they're just these little bolts right here. There's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. It helps if you have one of these. These are made by DeWalt. It's an angle driver, and you can actually fit it into tight spots. And on your normal drill, if you have an impact drill, it works really well. This one's just a regular drill. Let me see if I can go ahead and get into this small space right here. I might have to add extension to this. Let's see if I can get to it. If not, I'll have to do it by hand. And hopefully I don't drop the bolt too. Alright. Yeah. I'm kind of a dumbass for doing this while it's hot, but I was kind of impatient, so. Who needs the tools? So, here's the other bolt. Got lucky. This installation takes no more than 10-15 minutes max. If you struggle that hard on this, probably not something you should be doing. I'm pretty sure you've heard how the factory blow-off valve sounds. It basically is non-existent unless you have some type of intake. If you have an intake, you can actually hear it a little bit. If you don't have an intake, it basically is muffled. And that's kind of the idea by the manufacturer, because not everybody wants to hear all the cool noises of your car. Even the Type R is pretty muffled. Alright, and it has like a little clip right here after taking off the last bolt. I'll go ahead and remove this one, put it to the side. And we have the factory bypass valve, or aka blow-off valve, taken out. There's just a little rubber. All this stuff is going to stay in there. You're just going to pinch the clip right here and maneuver it out. This might be easier with some pliers, but I forgot to pull it up for the video. So I'm going to struggle a little bit. Actually, I'm just going to leave it there. You don't even need to really technically pull it out. Let's go ahead and take this out. I got this one in red. Like I said, they come in different colors. But the part that's going to go down is the gasket that's going to mate to the engine. And then the top part is going to mate right here, like so. And that's basically going to be the gasket, is the rubber factory seal right here. So when you end up screwing it in, it'll seal it completely. So I believe the way that the Torque Solutions is, this will end up facing outwards like this direction, but it doesn't really matter. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, it does matter. It actually faces this way. There's a little hole, if you zoom in right there, that actually matches the cutout for the Torque Solution. So that does matter as far as how you place it on there. So it's going to go with the slot facing upwards, which I'm pretty sure they did on purpose, so you can kind of hear it better. So let's go ahead and position that in place. I'm gonna have to take off my gloves because this is definitely not gonna allow me to do it with the gloves on. Let's see. I should have probably taken out the screws first. Let me get the screws out. This is, what, the third modification that I've done to this car. I have the lowering springs, which I haven't done the video for yet because I actually did a full-on video with it. I have just a basic drop-in filter, some HIDs. Nothing too crazy on this car aside from the lowering springs. And I did Skunk 2 lowering springs, but I kind of already regret it. Nothing against Skunk 2, they're just really stiff, and I don't believe my car needs to be that low. But I got them for a crackhead deal, so I can't really complain. Although it probably sounds like I'm complaining right now, doesn't it? Let's see here. Go ahead and try to get this in here. This one's going to be facing up like that. We'll put the screw in. This is probably extremely long basically live video of how to do this. I'm not going to pause the video at all. We'll snap this out of place so it gives us a little bit of room. And screwed up already. Let's see. Let's try to pull this back out. And rotate this. There we go. Make sure I have it on the right side. Yep, I do. Alright. I'm actually surprised I'm able to do this with the gloves on. Guess I'm just that badass. Alright, we got one screw in. I'm gonna have to take off the gloves to get the other screw. 2 more to go. Very easy. The next thing that's gonna end up going on this build, if I can find one, is gonna be the Type R wing. I have the Type R wing already painted. I did that in the last video. But I need to find a trunk to switch with somebody so I can get a base model trunk and add the wing on. Otherwise the SI wing is gonna end up having or the SI trunk is gonna have a buttload of holes left over. That's definitely not what I want. I'll show you what that looks like in a couple seconds after I get this bolted on. Alright, all 3 screws in. Let me just torque it down. I'm pretty sure that the torque specs on this is not really insane, so this should be suffice to be able to torque it down sufficiently. Oh, of course. So the factory screws are 10, I mean 8. The aftermarket bolts are most likely a 10. Let me see if I can pull a 10 out of my ass. The 10 is always the one that's missing. Alright, there's that one. There's that one. And last but not least, the one that's the most difficult one that's giving me trouble. Alright. And I'll just go over it once with the regular ratchet. They don't need to be insanely torqued down crazy, so try not to put too much force into this because you will strip the bolts. That's good. We'll put this back in place. I moved it. Start her up and make sure there's no leaks. You'll know if you have any leaks if you hear any type of hissing, the car ends up sputtering. It's more than likely due to the gasket shifting, but the gasket's in there pretty good as far as like how it comes from the manufacturer, so it shouldn't have any problems. Let's take a look at how she sounds. Let me put all this in the floor so it doesn't fall. I've had one of these before in another vehicle, and they sound pretty cool. They worked pretty well. There's nothing too insanely complicated about this. Let's jump in and take a ride. Toss all this in the trunk. Let me show you what the trunk is I was talking about actually. This is the factory wing, as everybody knows. The Type R wing is like the nice cool one that comes off of obviously the Type R. These things have several bolts. There's 2 bolts on this side, 2 bolts on this side, and then there's like plastic rivets that go all the way across. So if I end up using this trunk with the CTR wing, I'm gonna have holes all the way through here in the middle. So hence the reason why I'm gonna try to find another trunk to end up switching somebody. I found somebody on OfferUp and then they just kind of bailed on me, but that's just how OfferUp is, right? Gotta love it. Alright, let's roll down the window so we can hear something a little bit easier. So far, I've never done a bypass valve spacer on this car before, but I've done it on several other cars. But so far, no check engine light, which is good. Never want to check engine light for something stupid. Let's run over these people in this golf car. Look at the golf car right here. 10 points if we run them over. Get out the way, motherfuckers. Maybe my rent will be cheaper if I take them out. They won't send me a bill. Alright. Oh. I wonder if you can get that. Try to get it closer to the window, see if we can hear it better. Because I know the wind is probably going to muffle a lot of this stuff. Let's see if we can get this a little louder. Say hi to Oceanside. Oceanside fire truck. Baby. Say hi to Oceanside. Oh shit. If you don't know, we're out here in Oceanside, California. It's really nice weather right now. It's been cold lately. I hate the cold. That's why I don't live in the East Coast. For anybody who lives in the East Coast, I'm sorry for you. Stupid things I have to deal with in the East Coast, like super cold weather and rain and nasty. Especially when you're working in a car. Like when you have like a car on the East Coast, taking off nuts and bolts, even on a brand new car, sucks. Because it's always like rusted and fucked up. I never like working on cars from the East Coast. In fact, there's like sometimes where I'll look at the car, I don't know automatically that it came from somewhere in the East Coast, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really trying to do this right now. Man, this light's taking forever. I think maybe later on down the line I'll probably end up upgrading to the Boomba blow-off valve, but for now the noise with the spacer will be suffice. Yeah, I like it. So anyways, this is Randy signing out for today. The next video is going to be on the CTR wing as soon as I can find a trunk for somebody to trade me. I have to do some editing on the lowering springs, but that'll also be coming soon. I'll show you a quick outside view of what the car looks like lowered. I finally got all this stuff out of the trunk that was in the trunk, which was weighing it down even more. I think overall it looks pretty nice. Let me close the door. I mean, like barely a finger fits in it. And these are, like I said, the Skunk 2 springs. The only thing I dislike about them is that the front sits so low that it actually ends up allowing the spring to move in the front. And from my experience with lowering springs, that's pretty common for pretty much any vehicle that's been slammed like too low. In my opinion, this is, you know, a little bit too low, only because it doesn't allow for other wheels to fit inside. Like if you wanted to do 19s or 20s or in general a larger tire, you'd basically be rubbing, and that's why I say it's a little too low, but to each their own. Anyway, this is Randy signing out. Follow me, subscribe. The next videos that are coming up are going to be something a little bit different as well. I still have the USBs that I was talking about in my last video, and we'll get something up and going right now.